The pest control company servicing a 6-story apartment building in Baltimore left the same invoice every 8 weeks for 19 years. Same building, same roach problem, same check from the property manager. Then a man named Walt took over as superintendent in 1987 and spent his first 3 months implementing a system that cost $31 and took 1 afternoon per unit. The exterminator stopped getting invited back. The building has been roach-free for 36 years. The obvious answer to a roach problem in a multi-unit building is a professional pest control contract. What the service structure claims to deliver is permanent elimination. What it actually delivers is management. That distinction matters enormously to anyone writing those quarterly checks for more than a year without the problem resolving. German cockroaches, which account for roughly 93% of indoor roach infestations in multi-unit residential buildings, according to a 1994 survey by Rutgers University's Urban Entomology program, do not live in your apartment. They live inside wall voids, inside the motor housing of your refrigerator, inside gaps between cabinet frames and back walls. The colony producing those roaches lives 3 inches inside a wall cavity that no surface application has penetrated. Pyrethroid insecticides repel cockroaches on contact but cannot penetrate wall voids. A perimeter application pushes the colony deeper into the structure. The roaches scatter, regroup within 2 or 3 days, and re-emerge within 6 to 8 weeks. Walt described it plainly. The spray works on what it touches. What it touches is the wall. The roach lives behind the wall. The service is not structured to end the problem. The specific moment this knowledge disappeared came in 1968, when the Building Owners and Managers Institute removed the Integrated Pest Management Appendix from its Certified Property Manager curriculum. A formal partnership with the National Pest Management Association prompted the change. A property owner's annual cost difference runs between $4,000 and $22,000. The boric acid void lining method costs under $40. That is where the first method changes the entire calculation. The first method is called the void line. Orthoboric acid penetrates the cuticle of a cockroach through contact and ingestion and disrupts the insect's nervous system. The roach dies within 24 to 72 hours after carrying the powder back into the colony, and every roach it contacts picks up a lethal dose. The colony collapses within days. Materials: orthoboric acid powder, sold as a pool pH adjuster at farm supply retailers, $2 to $4 per pound. A bulb duster for $8, total $12. The mistake that defeats most first attempts is applying powder to visible surfaces. Roaches walk around a baseboard line. Direct powder through infrastructure gaps, where plumbing penetrates the wall under a sink, the void behind a cabinet kickplate, the channel where drain pipes run between floors. Insert the duster tip 1 inch into each gap and deliver 1 puff. The deposit should be barely visible. A heavy application clumps. Within 2 weeks, active colony reproduction stops. Walt treated a 6-unit kitchen stack with 42 puffs over 3 hours and returned 14 months later to find nothing living. A maintenance manager in Chicago described the result. "I have not called an exterminator since 1988. Every time a new tenant brought something in, I treated the voids in their unit. The building handled the rest." Safety note: orthoboric acid is mildly toxic if ingested. Applications inside wall voids present no practical exposure risk. Wash hands after handling. The void line is the foundation. But boric acid in a void with active moisture clumps and loses effectiveness within months. The next method addresses exactly that. The second method is called the harborage audit. The German cockroach requires temperatures between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit and will not colonize spaces below 65. It requires a moisture source within 12 inches of its nesting site. These 2 requirements predict exactly where a colony will and will not establish. The harborage audit eliminates the warm, moist microenvironments cockroach colonies require. Materials: a flashlight, a $9 moisture meter, and silicone caulk. Total, $13. Begin under every sink. The gap where drain pipes penetrate the cabinet floor is almost universally unsealed. creating a direct transit path to the wall cavity where the colony lives. A moisture meter reading above 17% behind the cabinet indicates an active colony. Seal every gap with silicone caulk. Next, inspect every refrigerator motor compartment. The compressor runs at between 90 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. A colony there repopulates a treated kitchen within 3 weeks, sitting entirely outside the reach of surface treatment. Vacuum it annually and deliver 2 puffs of boric acid through the rear grill. Ed, who maintained a 4-story building in Cleveland for 27 years, put it directly. Every kitchen I cleared and watched come back had the same answer when I opened the back of the refrigerator. The exterminator never opened it. The harborage audit was documented in the 1962 National Building Maintenance Manual. The 1974 revision replaced it with guidance on selecting pest control vendors. Subscribing is how this channel reaches the next person still writing the check. The third method is what Walt called the key nobody told him about. The third method is called the condensation break. Cold water supply pipes in a warm interior sweat. Condensation drips to the cabinet floor and maintains a continuous moisture source at the base of the wall even after every gap has been sealed. The colony needs relative humidity at or above 40% within 6 inches of its nesting site, and a sweating cold water pipe provides exactly that. Walt documented this in his Pittsburgh school. 3 ground-floor kitchen rooms cleared completely during a single month when steam heat dropped humidity below 30%. When humidity climbed back to 45%, roaches reappeared within 11 days. Materials: self-sealing foam pipe insulation at 60 cents per linear foot and a utility knife. Total: $4.20 per sink. Slit the foam along its seam and press it onto every cold water supply line inside each cabinet. The foam prevents the pipe surface from dropping below the dew point of the surrounding air. Relative humidity at the cabinet floor drops from 45 to 55% to below 25% within 2 days, and the harborage becomes uninhabitable. A superintendent in Detroit who managed a 44-unit complex from 1979 until his retirement in 2011 kept a log above his workbench. His 1984 entry read, "Cold pipe sweating is the roach water supply. Wrap the pipes and you drain the well." The condensation break was documented in the 1956 supplement to the Chicago Housing Authority's Maintenance Operations Manual. The 1963 edition removed the plumbing pest section, the year the authority established a building-wide commercial pest control contract. The fourth method is called the perimeter hard line. German cockroaches travel between units through shared wall voids, plumbing chases, and gaps around electrical conduit. A building that has eliminated its resident colony remains vulnerable every time a new tenant arrives from an infested address. Pyrethroid repellents redirect roaches to alternate entry points rather than seal them. The hard line method creates a permanent desiccant barrier at every inter-unit transit point. Materials: orthoboric acid powder combined with food-grade diatomaceous earth, $6 per 4-pound bag at any farm supply store. Total: $8 to $10. The application targets 3 locations: the void behind each electrical outlet on shared walls, the base gap of every shared wall before caulking, and behind the dishwasher where supply and drain lines penetrate the wall. Remove each outlet cover plate, deliver 1 puff of the combined blend, and replace the plate. Pull the dishwasher forward 18 inches to access the penetration. Manny, who spent 38 years managing a pre-war complex in St. Louis, put it simply, "I stopped having roach complaints in 1991. 3 tenants have moved in since with furniture from infested buildings. The building handled all 3 in 10 days. I sealed their outlets when they moved in. That was it." The hard line method was documented in a 1953 technical bulletin from the Illinois State Housing Commission titled "Practical Pest Exclusion Methods for Multifamily Dwellings." It was not reprinted after 1961, when the Commission began receiving annual funding from the Illinois Pest Control Association, renewed for 22 years. The way these 4 methods interact is architectural rather than additive, and the sequence is what separates a building that solves the problem permanently from one that cycles through it every 18 months. The void line deposits boric acid where the colony lives, but boric acid in a void with active condensation clumps and loses effectiveness within months. The condensation break is not optional. It is the condition that makes the void line function across years rather than one season. Skip it, and the void line fails. Correct result, wrong cause. Sequence matters. Condensation break first, harborage penetration sealed second, void line applied third, perimeter hard line last. Buildings treated in order held an average of 4 years before any retreatment. Buildings treated out of sequence required retreatment within 1 year, almost without exception. Pyrethroid spray addresses warmth, moisture, transit, and perimeter vulnerability, none of the 4. Walt's system addresses all 4 for under $40. In pre-1940 construction with lath and plaster walls, a single puff achieves wall-to-wall void coverage. In post-war drywall construction, the same void requires multiple application points. Before we end, here is the complete breakdown if you are taking notes. Method 1. The void line. Orthoboric acid powder, $2 to $4 per pound. Bulb duster, $8. Total, $10 to $12. Method 2. The harborage audit. Moisture meter, $9. Silicone caulk, $4. Total, $13. Method 3. The condensation break. Foam pipe insulation, 60 cents per linear foot. Total, $4 to $6. Method 4. The perimeter. Hardline, boric acid and diatomaceous earth blend. Total, $6 to $8. Complete system, $33 to $44. 4 methods. Permanent elimination of the structural conditions that make a building a viable roach habitat. Walt's system addressed every structural requirement a German cockroach colony needs to survive indoors: warmth, moisture, transit, and perimeter vulnerability for under $40. The building on North Avenue has confirmed the result for 36 years. None of this required a licensed applicator or a recurring product budget. All of it was documented in professional building management literature until the pest control industry established formal relationships with the organizations that train property managers. Walt kept his system on a yellow legal pad above his workbench. What that building demonstrates every year is not that one man had unusual knowledge. It is that usual knowledge was made unusually hard to find. Tell me in the comments, what room in your building has had a pest problem that keeps coming back no matter what you have spent on it? Name the room and tell me how long it has been going on. Everything here represents knowledge professional building superintendents developed across decades in the same buildings. Subscribing is how this channel reaches the next person writing quarterly pest checks for a problem that never resolves. If this changed how you understand why the spray does not hold, hitting like puts it in front of the next person still buying it. The video on screen right now covers a different building problem that experienced supers solved permanently for under $20. Click it and keep going. Someone near you is scheduling their next quarterly pest treatment this week for a problem with a $35 permanent fix. Hyping this video is how it reaches them first. Now, the end secret. On the back of page 7 of Walt's yellow legal pad, the last entry before the pages go blank, there is a note dated October 14, 1993, under the heading, "The Thing That Makes It Stick." Walt had run his void line system in that building for 6 years and observed that retreatment was occasionally needed in the bathroom stacks on shared wet walls. The boric acid in those voids was clumping and losing its powder state after approximately 14 months. The modification was a formulation change. 2 parts orthoboric acid powder combined with 1 part silica aerogel, a desiccant compound available from bulk chemical retailers for about $8 per pound. Silica aerogel absorbs moisture from the void before it reaches the boric acid, maintaining it in powder state indefinitely. Walt tracked the results over 4 years. His notes indicate the combination extended the effective life from approximately 14 months to well beyond 40 months. Silica aerogel is available from bulk chemical suppliers online for $6 to $9 per pound, sufficient for a full building supply batch combined with 1 pound of boric acid. Application is identical to the pure boric acid method. The only difference is duration. No building management publication references this modification. It appears in exactly one source, Walt's legal pad, a notation made on an October afternoon in 1993 in a Baltimore basement by a man paying close enough attention to notice what changed. The margin note next to the recipe, in Walt's own handwriting, read, "The exterminator treats the symptom. The symptom is the roach. I treated the building. The building stopped making roaches.